All right, let's get into the incredible story of one of Christianity's most fascinating figures, St. John. We're going to explore how a man who was literally known for his fiery temper became the ultimate messenger of love. It's quite a transformation.
See, towards the very end of his super long life, this was basically John's entire sermon. He'd preach this simple, powerful message over and over. And when people would ask him, hey, why do you keep saying the same thing? He'd say, because it's what the Lord wants. And if you do just that, that's enough. This one sentence really sealed his legacy as the apostle of love.
But here's the thing. Before he was the apostle of love, he had this other nickname, one that suggested a totally different personality. So, how on earth did a son of thunder become the ultimate messenger of love? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
To get it, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning. Before the famous gospel, before all the letters he wrote, John was just a fisherman on the Sea of Galilee with a fiery passion that really defined his early years.
So John and his brother James are out there working with their dad. They've been fishing all night, caught absolutely nothing. Then Jesus comes along and tells them to try just one more time. They do it, and boom, their nets are so full of fish they're about to break. It's right then that Jesus calls them to become fishers of men, and their response? It was immediate. They dropped everything, the boat, their job, even their dad, and just followed him.
It was this passionate, all-or-nothing kind of nature that earned John and James a really specific nickname from Jesus himself, Boanerges. It means sons of thunder. And this wasn't just some casual nickname, you know? It perfectly captured their zealous and, let's be honest, at times, kind of explosive personalities.
I mean, the contrast here is just staggering. On one side, you've got the young son of thunder, the guy who actually asked Jesus if they should call down fire from heaven to obliterate a village that rejected them. And then on the other side, you've got this wise old man whose entire ministry really boiled down to one simple, gentle command: love each other. It's like two different people.
So what happened? What was the turning point? Well, the change wasn't sudden. It wasn't like a light switch flipped. It was something that was forged by being a direct witness to the unimaginable things he saw alongside Jesus.
You know, throughout his own gospel, John refers to himself in this very specific, kind of humble way, the disciple whom Jesus loved. Now, this wasn't him being arrogant. It was his way of describing this deeply personal, incredibly intimate relationship that would end up defining his entire life and, of course, his message.
And John wasn't just another face in the crowd. He was in the absolute inner circle. He, Peter, and his brother James were the only ones who got to see the transfiguration, a real glimpse of divine glory. And at the Last Supper, he was the one who was literally leaning against Jesus, the one who dared to ask who the betrayer was. But most importantly, he was there at the very end.
Think about this. When everything went down, when all the other male apostles scattered in fear, one stayed, just one. John. He didn't abandon Jesus in the darkest hour of his passion. His loyalty was just absolute.
And from the cross, in a moment of just unbelievable pain and love, Jesus gave John this sacred responsibility. He looked down and entrusted his own mother, Mary, into John's care. Can you imagine? That single act of profound trust would forever, ever change the course of John's life.
So after the crucifixion and the resurrection, that Son of Thunder energy, it didn't just disappear. Oh no, it was transformed. The guy who witnessed the ultimate act of love channeled all that fiery passion into becoming this powerful theological voice that would shape Christianity forever.
And his contribution to Scripture is just immense. He's credited with writing 5 books in the New Testament, his totally unique gospel, which really dives deep into the divinity of Christ, 3 letters that are all about truth and love, and of course, the incredibly mystical book of Revelation. So in Christian art, each of the 4 gospel writers has a symbol, and John's is the eagle. Now, why an eagle? Well, because an eagle soars to heights no other bird can even dream of reaching. And that's exactly what John's writing does. It just takes us to these incredible theological heights. And you can feel that soaring quality right from the first sentence of his gospel. I mean, he doesn't start with a family tree or a simple birth story. No way. He starts at the very beginning of, well, everything, with this cosmic, poetic declaration about the nature of God. It's truly a breathtaking way to open a book.
His later life was just as eventful, believe it or not. Tradition says he moved to Ephesus, taking care of Mary just like he promised. But then, during a wave of persecution, he was exiled to the desolate island of Patmos, and it was there, totally isolated, that he received the visions that became the book of Revelation. He did eventually get to return to Ephesus to finish his ministry.
So let's bring this all together. From a fiery fisherman to a profound theologian, what is the final, lasting message we can take from St. John's incredible life?
Well, he's known as the Apostle of Love, his symbol is the eagle, he's the patron saint of loyalty and friendship, and here's a really interesting fact. He's the only one of the original 12 apostles who wasn't martyred. He lived to a ripe old age, leaving behind this incredibly rich theological legacy.
So here's the bottom line. After seeing miracles, surviving exiles, and writing some of the most soaring theology ever, John's ultimate wisdom wasn't some complicated doctrine. It was the simplest, most powerful command you can imagine: love one another. That fire he had as a young man had been completely transformed into this beacon of love for everyone.
And that leaves us with one last thing to chew on. John's life was just filled with unimaginable complexity and drama, yet his final takeaway was so simple. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is the deepest truth always the most complicated one? Or is it possible that the most profound lesson we can ever learn is also the simplest one to actually live out?